Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we are going to make a sun-dried tomato and olive gluten-free bread that you are going to fall in love with.
It's the all-free whole food plant-based cooking show.
Okay, so we have another bread recipe for you guys, and boy, are you going to love this one. This has become my new favorite bread. And it's really an elaboration on an old bread that I made before, my gluten-free bread, which a lot of you out there probably already made. It's a huge success, and if you haven't tried it, you need to try it. But this is an even better version, I think. It's a savory version. So to start out, the night before you make this bread, you need to get your buckwheat and your quinoa, and I'll have the list of ingredients in the details below, or the full recipe. So this is 3/4 of a cup of quinoa and 3/4 of a cup of buckwheat. So I just pour them into a measuring cup the night before, or at least 6 hours before you want to make this bread, at least. And then I just cover them with water, but I cover them pretty far, a good couple inches, because you know the grains will swell up. They're going to soak up some of this water while they're soaking. So you're just going to leave this overnight. Just leave it alone. And you can put a little towel over it or a plate over it and just set it aside. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to set this over here for a minute. Okay, so this is what it ends up like. So before I start mixing all of my ingredients together, or while I'm prepping my other ingredients, I get another measuring cup, and I just have a strainer here. You could do a nut milk bag or something like that, but a strainer is just easier. It's just a fine wire mesh strainer. Pour all of that in there and let all of that liquid drain out. So, you know, probably 10 minutes, you know, or 15 minutes at least, you want this to drip out. You want all that moisture out of there. Okay? So that's the first ingredient you're going to add to your food processor. Just going to put that in there. And then the other two ingredients you're going to need, and I'll show you what I use. So this is the flavoring. It's sun-dried tomato and olive, because I love both of these flavors. Punch of flavor, I tell you. I love sun-dried tomatoes, and this is just a 365 brand. There are some out there that don't have salt. Also, this one does have salt and citric acid, but there is a brand that does not have salt. Or in the grocery store, you can find them in little jars in oil, and as long as you soak, you know, you let all of that oil drain off, maybe give them a little bit of a rinse, you're good to go. And then this is just Divina Kalamata olives, and they're already pitted, which makes it super easy. You don't have to, you know, cut around that little pit. So those are the two that I use. I really like the flavor of both. So I'm going to set those aside. And with both of them, I have a 1/2 cup of each that I've just chopped really small into little pieces, chopped up the olives the same way. Okay, so that's going to go in there too. I guess we can put that in right now. Get all of that goodness in there. And you may say, buckwheat, isn't that wheat? Isn't that still gluten? Because this is a gluten-free bread. Buckwheat, I don't know why they call it wheat, but it's not actually in the wheat family. So if you have a gluten intolerance, buckwheat is safe. Here we have, let's see, 2 1/4 cups of rolled organic oats. You're gonna pour in there. And you want to have your oven preheated to 350 degrees. Then we have 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder and 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. And that's what's going to give it that rise that you need, right? I mean, it's not like a gluten bread. It's not going to rise really high, but it will rise just a little bit. Then we have 1/3 of a cup of chia seeds. Chia seeds are great. They're loaded with your omega-3 fatty acids that are really important for your body. And this is 1/3 of a cup of psyllium husk. because this is a gluten-free bread, there's no gluten to give you that stick, right? That glues everything together. You need something that's going to keep it from being just a grainy, crumbly bread. So psyllium husk is just, it's all fiber. So it's going to glue, you know, once the water hits that psyllium husk, it's going to start gluing all that stuff together. And when you cut your bread, it's not going to fall apart in all these teeny little crumbs. It'll stick together well. Then I have 2 1/4 cups of water. And then you want to get your bread pan ready, because once you get this mixed up, you kind of want to get it into the pan pretty quickly because it starts thickening and setting up right away. So you want to get it in the pan and settle it down. So after this, once we put that water in, we'll get it mixing. So that's 2 1/4 cup of water. And I'm using my food processor here because you don't want to over blend it. You want to really just mix it until it's just well blended together. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share with you some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our new Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting members. By becoming a supporting member, you gain access to great member perks like monthly product giveaways, free downloads of our ebooks, and access to our in-depth courses, including our 28 Days Plant-Based Made Easy course, where we offer a step-by-step guide to making the switch to a fully plant-based diet. We create this show for the hundreds of thousands of viewers just like you who tune in each month from all over the world to make it easy for everyone to live a plant-based lifestyle. So if you love our content, please join us on our mission and become a supporting member today by following the link in the description. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay, so I probably just blended for 15 to 20 seconds because you don't want it to get too fine of a texture, because if you blend it for too long, it really has, it struggles to get that middle cooked all the way through when you bake it. So if you don't get it too brown, you will be fine. So this is just, these are some silicone bread pans here, just a regular size. I believe it's 4.5 inches by 9. If you don't have the silicone pans, you can use tin pans that you either lightly oil, or if you really don't want to use any kind of oil, or you don't have any in your kitchen like we don't, you can use parchment paper. That's even better. And then it won't stick to your bread pan. So this mixture comes all the way to the top of that bread pan. So just smooth it down a little bit. And I can tell it's already kind of setting up. And then I like to just kind of pop it on the counter a little bit. That lets it settle a little bit better, gets any air bubbles out. Okay, now we're gonna pop this into the oven, and we're gonna pop it in for 1 hour to start. So there we go. As a tip from my husband, after it's done, you want to take it out of the oven, flip it out onto the cooling rack, and then we're going to put it right back in the oven for about 15 more minutes, and that's going to give it a really nice crust on the outside, because right now the sides are a little bit soft, so that's going to give it a nice crunch. So we're going to put that back into the oven. We're just going to put it right back on the straight onto the rack. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh my gosh. It smells amazing. Okay, I'm going to let this cool down for about a half an hour. It's really best to let this cool down a bit because when you cut into it, that middle is going to still look and feel a little bit moist, but as it sits here and cools down, it's going to set up and it's going to firm up really nice. So I'm going to wait till it cools and then I'll meet you at the table for a taste. All right, guys, time for a taste. Are you ready for this? I am so ready for this. This has got a nice crust to it. You can hear it. Can you hear that? Just what you want to hear. Ooh. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And look at that. That is the most perfect, beautiful thing. Look at those sun-dried tomatoes in there. And my favorite way to eat this, I really like to toast it. I usually toast it first, but I like to put a little bit of my homemade cream cheese. I'll leave a link in the details below on my cream cheese recipe. Oh my goodness. Here we go. The more you chew, the more the flavors come out. You kind of get the olive first. And then you get the sweetness of the sun-dried tomato. And the crunchiness of that crust. Oh, this is so good. You might have to go away. I think I need some more time with this. Oh yeah, give this a like, and I'll see you next time.